The hotel receptionist gave me room 217. The last guest never checked out. The rain started somewhere around midnight, just as I crossed the state line into Vermont. I'd been driving for 11 hours straight, my eyes burning, my back aching, and the last 3 cups of gas station coffee sloshing around in my empty stomach. The GPS had died 2 hours ago. My phone battery was at 4%, and the road was getting narrower, darker, and more twisted with every mile. My name is Daniel Cross. I'm 34 years old, and I was running away from a life that had fallen apart 6 months ago when my wife, Sarah, looked me in the eye and said, "I don't love you anymore." She took the house. She took the dog. She took the friends we had shared for a decade. I took my car, a suitcase, and a bottle of bourbon that I promised myself I wouldn't open until I reached somewhere that didn't remind me of her. That somewhere turned out to be the middle of nowhere. The rain turned into a downpour around 1 a.m. The windshield wipers couldn't keep up. The road turned to mud. I was about to pull over and sleep in the car when I saw it. A flicker of light through the trees. A sign, old and faded, swinging in the wind. The Pine Haven Hotel. 1923. Vacancy. I didn't have a choice. I turned onto the gravel driveway, my tires sliding in the mud, and drove toward the only light I had seen in 2 hours. The hotel was older than I expected. Much older. The photos on the website, if they had one, must have been taken 50 years ago. The paint was peeling. The porch sagged. The windows were dark except for a single light on the second floor and a dim glow coming from the lobby. But it was dry, and it had a bed. That was all I needed. I grabbed my suitcase, pulled my jacket over my head, and ran through the rain to the front door. It was unlocked. The moment I stepped inside, I noticed 2 things immediately. First, the smell. It wasn't the usual musty odor of an old building. It was something sweeter, heavier, like flowers left in water too long. Roses, maybe, but underneath that something else, something metallic. Second, the silence. The storm outside was raging, but inside the hotel, it was as if the sound had been swallowed whole. I could hear my own heartbeat. I could hear the drip of water from my jacket onto the hardwood floor. I could hear the faint ticking of a grandfather clock somewhere deeper in the building. And then I heard the voice. "Welcome to the Pine Haven Hotel." She appeared from behind the front desk, and for a split second, I thought she was a ghost. She was old, maybe 80, maybe 90, but her eyes were sharp, almost unnaturally so. She wore a dark green dress that belonged to another era, and her gray hair was pulled back so tightly that it pulled the skin around her eyes into a permanent squint. But it was her hands that caught my attention. They were folded on the counter, perfectly still, perfectly pale. And on her left ring finger was a ring I recognized. A sapphire, oval cut, set in white gold. My grandmother had the exact same ring. "Checking in?" the old woman asked. Her voice was dry, like paper crumbling. "I need a room for the night," I said, shaking off the strange feeling creeping up my spine. "Just one night. I'll be gone by morning." She didn't move, didn't blink, just stared at me with those sharp, hungry eyes. "Room 217, she said. "It's ready for you." Something about the way she said it, "ready for you," made my skin crawl. But I was tired, too tired to argue. "How much?" $100. "Cash only." "Of course. Cash only." I pulled 2 50s from my wallet and slid them across the counter. She didn't touch them. She just looked at the money, then at me, then back at the money. "The last guest never checked out," she said. I laughed. It came out awkward, nervous. "What did he skip on the bill?" The old woman didn't laugh. She reached under the counter and pulled out a key. Not a key card. A real key. Heavy brass. Worn smooth by decades of use. Attached to it was a diamond-shaped tag with a number 217 embossed in faded gold lettering. "He didn't skip on the bill," she said, placing the key on the counter between us. "He just never left." She turned and walked into the back room before I could ask what that meant. The door closed behind her with a soft click. I stood there for a moment, holding the key, staring at the empty desk. Then I told myself I was being ridiculous. It was an old hotel. The old woman was probably half blind and half crazy. The last guest probably just moved out in the middle of the night without telling anyone. I took the key and walked toward the staircase. The grandfather clock was in the hallway, just past the front desk. It was ticking loudly now, so loudly that I wondered how I hadn't heard it before. I glanced at the face. 1:17 a.m. The stairs were narrow, carpeted in a faded red pattern that might have been elegant in 1923. Now it just looked like dry blood. The walls were lined with photographs, black and white portraits of people who had probably been dead for half a century. Men in suits, women in pearls, children with hollow eyes. I stopped on the second-floor landing. There was a photograph there that didn't fit. It was newer, color. A man, maybe 40 years old, with a kind face and sad eyes. He was standing in front of the hotel, smiling, holding a suitcase. The nameplate underneath read, Ethan Cole, July 14th, 2019. Thank you for staying with us. 5 years ago. I looked closer at the photograph. There was something written on the back of the frame, visible through the glass. I turned the frame around. Room 217. I put the frame back. My hand was shaking slightly. I told myself it was the cold. The hotel was freezing. The hallway on the second floor was long and dark. The only light came from a single sconce at the far end, near room 217. I walked slowly, my footsteps muffled by the carpet. Each door I passed was identical. Dark wood, brass numbers, a small brass knob. 211, 213, 215, and then 217. The key slid into the lock easily, too easily, as if the lock had been oiled recently. I turned it. The door swung open without a sound. The room was cold, colder than the hallway, and dark, except for the faint glow of the outside light filtering through the curtains. I fumbled for the light switch. Found it. Flipped it. Nothing. I flipped it again. Nothing. Great, I muttered. I used my phone's dying battery as a flashlight. The beams swept across the room. A bed, made up with white sheets and a quilt that looked older than the building. A nightstand with a lamp, dead, probably unplugged. A dresser with a mirror. A closet with the door slightly open. And a chair in the corner, facing the bed. Someone was sitting in it. I froze. My phone shook in my hand. The beam of light trembled across the shape in the chair. A man, dressed in dark clothes. His head was down, chin to chest, as if he was sleeping. Hello. My voice cracked. No response. I took a step closer. Then another. The beam of light climbed up his body. His shoes, his pants, his belt, his shirt, The chair was empty. I stumbled backward, hitting the door, slamming it shut behind me. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I had seen someone. I knew I had seen someone. But the chair was empty. And then I noticed something else. On the nightstand, next to the dead lamp, was a leather journal. Open. A pen lying beside it, uncapped, as if someone had been writing just moments before I walked in. I picked up the journal. The handwriting was small, neat, desperate. If you're reading this, you're in danger. Don't stay in this room. Don't trust the old woman. And whatever you do, don't look in the closet. I looked at the closet door. It was open, just a crack, just wide enough for a sliver of darkness to escape. And from inside, I heard sound, a whisper, my name. I should have run. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to open the door, run down the stairs, get in my car, and drive until the sun came up. But I didn't, because the whisper, the impossible, horrible whisper, had said my name. Daniel. No one in this hotel knew my name. I hadn't told the old woman. I hadn't signed a register. There was no way anyone, or anything, in that closet should have known who I was. But it did, and I needed to know how. I grabbed the journal and the pen, backed against the far wall, as far from the closet as I could get, and started reading by the faint light of my phone. The first entry was dated July 14th, 2019. My name is Ethan Cole. I'm a journalist. I came to the Pine Haven Hotel to investigate a story that no one else would touch. 3 disappearances over the last 30 years. All in room 217. All on the same night, July 14th. The police called them runaways. The hotel called them accidents. But the families knew better. They said their loved ones checked into this hotel and never checked out. They said the hotel refused to let them see the room. They said the old woman at the front desk told them the same thing she told me. The last guest never checked out. I thought it was a gimmick. A creepy story to attract ghost hunters and thrill seekers. I've stayed in haunted hotels before. I've slept in rooms where people were murdered. I've never been afraid. But this room is different. This room is hungry. I looked up from the journal. The closet door was still open. Just a crack. I couldn't see inside, but I could feel something watching me. A pressure in the air. A weight on my chest. I kept reading. July 15th, 2019. 2 a.m. I've been in this room for 6 hours. I've tried to leave 3 times. The door won't open. The window won't break. The phone on the nightstand is dead. Not disconnected, not broken, just dead. When I pick it up, I don't hear dial tone. I hear breathing. The old woman came to the door an hour ago. She didn't knock. She just stood on the other side, her shadow blocking the light from under the door. I asked her to let me out. She said, "You wanted the story. Now you're part of it." Then she walked away. I heard her footsteps fade down the hallway. And then I heard something else. Footsteps inside the room, coming from the closet. I stopped reading. My phone battery was down at 2%. The light was flickering, dying. I looked at the closet again. The crack was wider now. Definitely wider. I should have stopped reading. I should have put the journal down and tried to break the door down, try to climb out the window, tried anything. But I couldn't. I needed to know what happened to Ethan Cole. I needed to know if he got out. I tilted the phone toward the last page of the journal. July 16th, 2019. Time unknown. I opened the closet. I know I shouldn't have. I know the note I left for the next guest said not to. But I couldn't stop myself. The whispers were too loud. They were saying my name. They were saying the names of people I've lost. My mother. My father. My sister. They said they could bring them back. All I had to do was open the door. I opened it. There's nothing inside. No body. No ghost. No monster. Just a mirror. A full-length mirror at the back of the closet. And when I looked into it, I didn't see my reflection. I saw the room. Empty. Dark. And sitting in the chair by the bed, the chair facing the closet, was me, but older, broken, hollow-eyed. He was whispering, and the words he was whispering were the same words I'm writing now. Don't open the closet. Don't open the closet. Don't open. The entry ended there. The handwriting became jagged, desperate, trailing off the page. And then, in the bottom corner, written in what looked like blood, "He's in the room with me now. He's been here the whole time. He's the last guest. He's every guest. He's..." The last word was illegible. My phone died. The light vanished. I was alone in the dark with the journal, the chair, the bed, and the closet. And the closet door was wide open. I couldn't see anything. The darkness was absolute, suffocating. I pressed myself against the wall, my back to the cold plaster, my hands searching for something, anything I could use as a weapon. The journal. The pen. Not much, but I could feel the closet now. The air coming from it was colder than the rest of the room, and it smelled different. Not roses and metal. Something older. Something like dust and bone and regret. I stood up. I don't know why. Some stupid, suicidal courage that I didn't know I had. I took a step toward the closet, then another. My hands outstretched, feeling for the door frame. I found it. The wood was warm, impossibly warm, as if someone had been standing there moments ago, holding it. I stepped inside. The closet was larger than it should have been. Much larger. My footsteps echoed as if I was walking through a tunnel. The cold intensified. The smell grew stronger. And then I saw it. A faint light, glowing from the back of the closet. A mirror, just like Ethan Cole had written. I walked toward it. My reflection, if it was my reflection, walked toward me. But it wasn't me. Not really. It was me, but older. Maybe 50, maybe 60. My hair was gray. My face was lined. My eyes were empty. And he was whispering. "You opened it," he said. But his lips didn't move. The words came from inside my own head. "You opened it just like I did. Just like all of us did. Who are you?" My voice was barely a whisper. "I'm you. I'm every Daniel who ever stayed in this room. I'm every guest who couldn't resist the whispers. I'm a last guest. And now, so are you." I reached out and touched the mirror. My fingers pressed against the glass. It was warm, alive, pulsing like a heartbeat. And then the glass rippled. Like water, like skin, like the surface of something that was breathing. And a hand reached out from the other side. Pale, cold. It grabbed my wrist and pulled. I fell forward. Not on a glass. Not on a floor. I fell through the mirror and landed on something soft and damp. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer in the closet. I was no longer in room 217. I was in the lobby, but not the lobby I had walked into an hour ago. This lobby was new, pristine. The paint was fresh. The carpets were clean. The chandelier above my head was glowing with dozens of candles. And there were people everywhere. Men in suits, women in elegant dresses, children running between tables, laughter, music, a piano playing somewhere. I was at a party, a New Year's Eve party, maybe. There was a banner hanging from the balcony, 1923. The year the hotel was built. I stood up, dizzy, disoriented. No one looked at me. No one seemed to notice that I had just fallen through a mirror and landed on their floor. I was invisible, a ghost in my own body. And then I saw her, a woman standing by the front desk. Young, beautiful, dark hair piled on top of her head. A green dress, the same shade of green as the old woman's dress, but new, vibrant. She was laughing at something the man beside her said. She had a sapphire ring on her finger. Oval cut, white gold, my grandmother's ring. I walked toward her. No one stopped me. No one looked at me. I stood inches from her face, and she didn't blink. Who are you? I whispered. She didn't answer. Of course she didn't. She couldn't see me, but the man beside her could. Or maybe he couldn't see me either, but he was looking in my direction. His eyes were fixed on something behind me. I turned. The front door of the hotel was opening. A man walked in. He was young, maybe 30, with dark hair and tired eyes. He carried a suitcase. He wore a coat that was soaked from the rain. He looked exactly like me. No, not like me. He was me. The same face, the same build, the same way of walking, of looking around a room, of sizing up his surroundings. But he was dressed in clothes from 1923. He walked to the front desk. The young woman in the green dress smiled at him. Welcome to the Pine Haven Hotel. Checking in. Room 217, he said. His voice was my voice. I was told it would be ready. The woman's smile faltered, just for a second. Then she reached under the counter and pulled out a key. Heavy brass. A diamond-shaped tag with a number 217. The last guest never checked out, she said. The man laughed. I'll take my chances. He took the key and walked toward the stairs. I followed him. I had no choice. My feet moved on their own, carrying me up the stairs, past the photographs that weren't there yet, to the second floor, to the long dark hallway, to room 217. He unlocked the door, walked inside. I followed. The room was different, newer. The wallpaper was fresh. The bed was made. The chair in the corner faced the window, not the closet. He set his suitcase on the bed. He opened it. Inside were clothes, a shaving kit, and a photograph. A woman, dark hair, smiling. He held the photograph for a long time. Then he set it on the nightstand, laid down on the bed, and closed his eyes. I stood there, watching myself sleep for what felt like hours. And then the closet door opened. Not by itself. The man opened it. He got up, walked to the closet, and pulled the door open. Inside was a mirror, just like the one I had fallen through. He looked into it, and he saw me. His eyes widened. His mouth opened. He reached out and touched the glass. And then he whispered, "You're me. You're from the future. You came through the mirror." "How do you know?" I asked. "Because I've seen you before. In my dreams. You're the reason I came here. You told me to. I never told you anything." He smiled. It was a sad smile. A broken smile. "You will. Someday. When you find your way back. You'll tell me. And I'll come. And the loop will continue." "Loop? What loop?" But he didn't answer. He stepped through the mirror. And I watched myself from 1923 disappear into the glass. And then I was alone in room 217. The wallpaper was peeling. The bed was old. The chair was facing the closet. And the closet door was open. I sat down on the bed. My hands were shaking. My mind was reeling. The loop. The mirror. The guest who never checked out. It wasn't a haunting. It wasn't a curse. It was a trap. A temporal trap. Everyone who stayed in room 217 eventually opened the closet, looked into the mirror, and saw themselves. Not a reflection. A version of themselves from a different time. And that version, past or future, would reach out and pull them through. Then they would become the whisper, the voice in the closet that called to the next guest. The voice that said their name. The voice that promised to bring back lost loved ones. But it wasn't bringing anyone back. It was just pulling more people into the loop. I had to break it. I had to find a way out. I looked at the mirror. It was still there, still glowing faintly. And in it, I saw someone new. A woman. Young. Dark hair. A green dress. The woman from the lobby. The one with the sapphire ring. She was standing in the closet, on the other side of the mirror, looking at me with desperate eyes. "Help me," she whispered. "Please. I've been here for 100 years. I'm the first. I'm the one who started this. And I want to end it. Who are you?" "My name is Eleanor. I built this hotel. I designed room 217. I put the mirror in the closet. And I trapped myself here because I couldn't let go." "Let go of what?" "Him. The man I loved. He died on New Year's Eve, 1923. Right here. In this room. And I thought if I could find a way to bring him back, to reach through time, I could save him." "Did you?" Eleanor's face crumpled. "No. I just made it worse. Every guest who comes here is someone who lost someone. Someone who would do anything to get them back. The mirror shows them what they want to see, and they walk through, and they become part of the loop. Trapped forever. How do we break it?" She looked at me. Her eyes were ancient, older than the hotel, older than the mirror. "You have to let go. Of Sarah. Of the past. Of the person you used to be. You have to accept that some things can't be undone. And then, you have to walk away. Don't look back. Don't listen to the whispers. Just walk. And if I can't, then you'll be the next last guest. And you'll never check out." I closed my eyes. I thought about Sarah. About the life we had built together. About the way she used to laugh at my stupid jokes. About the way she would rest her head on my shoulder when we watched movies. About the last night. The way she had looked at me with those cold, empty eyes and said, "I don't love you anymore." I had been carrying that moment with me for 6 months. It was a weight, a stone around my neck. I thought if I could just understand why, if I could just find an answer, I could move on. But there was no answer. There was no why. Sometimes people just stop loving you. And no amount of time travel, no magical mirror, no haunted hotel room could change that. I opened my eyes. The whispers started immediately. Soft at first, then louder. Voices I recognized. My mother, who died when I was 12. My father, who followed her 5 years later. My best friend from college, who I lost to an overdose. And Sarah. Always Sarah. "Daniel, come back to us. We're here. We're waiting. Just step through the mirror. Just open the door. Just." No. The word came out stronger than I expected. The whispers paused. Shocked, maybe. Then they grew louder, more desperate. "Don't you want to see us? Don't you want to hold us? Don't you want to say goodbye?" I already said goodbye. I just didn't want to accept it. I walked toward the closet. The mirror was glowing brighter now. I could see faces in the glass. Dozens of them. The guests who never checked out. Ethan Cole, the man from 1923. Eleanor, and so many others. All of them reaching for me, their hands pressing against the glass from the other side. "Let me out," I said. "You can't leave," they whispered. "No one leaves. You're one of us now. I'm not one of you. I'm not trapped. I'm choosing to leave." I turned away from the closet. I walked toward the door of room 217. I grabbed the brass knob. It was cold. Frozen. It wouldn't turn. "The door only opens for guests who are ready to check out," Eleanor's voice whispered. "Are you ready, Daniel?" I thought about Sarah. About my parents. About everyone I had lost. I thought about the weight I had been carrying for 6 months. For years, really. And I let it go. Not because I stopped loving them, but because I finally understood that loving them didn't mean being trapped by them. "I'm ready." The knob turned. The door swung open. The hallway was bright. Not with electric light, but with sunlight. Morning light. Golden and warm. I stepped out of room 217. The door closed behind me with a soft click. I didn't look back. I walked down the hallway, past the photographs on the walls. I stopped at one of them. The newest one. Ethan Cole. July 14th, 2019. The photograph was gone. In its place was an empty frame. I kept walking. Down the stairs. Past the grandfather clock. It was ticking normally now. 6:15 a.m. The lobby was empty. The front desk was abandoned. The old woman was nowhere to be seen. But on the counter, sitting in the exact spot where she had placed the key, was the sapphire ring. My grandmother's ring. Eleanor's ring. I picked it up. It was warm, alive, pulsing gently. And then, in a flash of light, it crumbled to dust in my hand. The front door was open. I walked outside. The rain had stopped. The sky was clear. My car was still there, covered in mud, exactly where I had left it. I got in. The engine started on the first try. I put the car in reverse, turned around, and drove away. I didn't look back. 3 hours later, I crossed the state line back into New York. My phone was dead, so I couldn't check my messages. But I didn't need to. For the first time in 6 months, I didn't feel the weight. I didn't feel the need to check my phone every 5 minutes, hoping for a text from Sarah. I didn't feel the urge to drive past our old house, just to see if her car was there. I felt free. I stopped at a diner for breakfast. A greasy spoon with cracked vinyl booze and coffee that tasted like motor oil. I ordered pancakes and eggs and ate every bite. The waitress asked me where I was coming from. Vermont, I said. Beautiful country up there, she said. Did you stay at a hotel? I paused. For a moment, I wasn't sure what to say. The memories of the night were already starting to fade, like a dream slipping away at sunrise. I could remember the rain, the old woman, the room, the mirror, but the details were blurry. The faces were indistinct. And when I tried to remember what had happened in the closet, all I saw was sunlight. Yeah, I said. I stayed at a hotel, but I checked out. She smiled and refilled my coffee. I'm writing this from my new apartment. It's small. It's cheap. The walls are thin, and the neighbors have a dog that barks at 3 a.m. But it's mine. I got a new job. Nothing fancy, just a desk job at a marketing firm. But I don't hate it. I don't love it either. But I don't hate it. That's progress. I've started therapy. Once a week, I sit in a comfortable chair and talk to a woman named Dr. Reyes about my feelings. It's awkward and uncomfortable, and sometimes I leave feeling worse than when I arrived. But I keep going, because I'm learning to let go. I still think about Sarah sometimes. Not every day anymore. Just once in a while. I wonder if she's happy. I hope she is. I really do. I haven't been back to Vermont. I don't plan to. But sometimes, late at night, when I can't sleep, I think about the Pine Haven Hotel. I think about room 217. I think about the mirror and the whispers and Eleanor. And I wonder if it was real. I've tried to find the hotel online. It doesn't exist. No website. No reviews. No mention of it anywhere. I've looked at maps of Vermont, traced the roads I drove that night. Nothing. It's as if the hotel was never there. But I have proof. Sort of. When I cleaned out my car the next day, I found something under the passenger seat. A key. Heavy brass. Worn smooth by decades of use. Attached to it was a diamond-shaped tag with the number 217 embossed in faded gold lettering. I keep it in my nightstand drawer. I don't look at it often, but I know it's there. Last week, I got a letter. No return address. Postmarked from a town in Vermont that I've never heard of. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Handwritten. The handwriting was small, neat, desperate. Thank you for checking out. The door is closed now. The loop is broken. The last guest is finally gone. But if you're reading this, if anyone is reading this, there's something you should know. There are other rooms, other hotels, other mirrors, and they're still hungry. Don't open the closet. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and placed it in the nightstand drawer next to the key. I don't know what it means. I don't know if I believe it. But sometimes late at night, when the dog next door finally stops barking and the city goes quiet, I think I hear something. A whisper. Soft. Distant. Calling my name. I pull the covers up to my chin and close my eyes. And I don't open the closet. Screen fades to black. Text appears. The Pine Haven Hotel was built in 1923. It burned down in 1978. No survivors. No witnesses. No explanation. But some say on certain nights, when the rain is heavy and the roads are dark, you can still see a light flickering through the trees. And if you knock, they might let you in.